Okay, so today I'm here with Jen Bennett, and developer relations is always full of fun people, and Jen is one of my favorite people in the mix. Fun fact about him is that once I saw him in a llama costume in a in a developer event. Um, so I'll let you introduce yourself.
Awesome. So, hey everyone, I'm Jim Bennett. I've been doing developer relations for oh, 8, 9 years now. I have worn a llama costume. I've also worn the Microsoft Clippy costume for various
I did
things.
not know that.
Yeah, I have. Microsoft has an official Clippy costume, and I've worn that for videos. I mean, developer relations is all about building a relationship with developers and all about having fun. So being able to do things like put on a llama costume just allows people to have a bit of fun with you. Kind of brings a bit of excitement, brings a bit of joy, and makes something memorable. So I've been doing developer relations about 8 years. Worked for big companies, Microsoft. Worked for small startups. And to me, the goal of DevRel is all about how do I help people be successful. So all throughout that time, my goal has been how do I help the users of the product, the developers, be successful. I've been doing engineering for almost 30 years now, and so I've been on the other side for quite a long time, and so I've been able to use that experience of fighting with products, working out how to use tools to kind of help me with this goal of I want to help developers be successful.
That's awesome. So we're going to start with a topic that is dear to me, which is onboarding. How do you get a user from, oh, this is a cool tool, all the way to, yes, I want to use it and I'm using it and I'm being successful. And I've seen you do that multiple times in a very successful way. So what is the best way to improve on user onboarding or developer onboarding into your tool or API?
So that is a great question, because really the initial impression someone has of your product is the most important view that they're going to have. If it doesn't matter how good the product is, if they can't get started with it, they're not going to use it. Developers have a very short attention span. And there's so many products out there. It's easy to go, this one's rubbish, on to the next one. And I think that the trick is defining what the wow moment is. Because with any product, you have to have a wow moment where you go, yes, I know what this product can do. I can see how this product can solve my problems. And the quicker you can get the person to that wow moment, the better that it's going to be. Yeah, if you can get someone to wow in a few minutes, then that is a much better onboard experience than getting someone to a wow over the course of like an hour. Now, the first hard problem is defining what that wow moment is. There's so many different possibilities of what a wow can be. And really, a good wow moment is showing somebody here is what the product does and here is the outcome. And this outcome aligns with your needs. You don't have to explain why it works. You don't have to explain how it works under the hood. You don't need any of the minutiae. You don't need to give people too many facts about it. It's just here's enough information that you need to know to get you to see that the product is working. So, for example, where I am at the moment, we're an AI evaluations company. How quickly can I get you to run something against an AI, see it's not working, uh, establish some kind of evaluation, see with a number, fix your AI? That is kind of the wow moment. I don't need to explain how that works under the hood. This is just the point I need to get you to. Previous place I worked was an AI knowledge system. So how quickly can I get you to the point where it's captured enough information from what you're doing that you can then mine that information and get an answer to your question? And this is kind of ideally the point you want to get to, and kind of 5 minutes or less is the ideal. That's not necessarily always real because of deployment times and other such things. But really, it's the what can I get you to in your lunch break in that quick 10 minutes that you've got between meetings in that short space of time. So yes, you start by defining what that clear wow moment looks like, and then you work out the journey that developer is going to take to get to that point. And this needs to be the simplest journey possible. Now, if you've got to install multiple tools and multiple configurations, that journey becomes hard. And so every step you do, every action the user has to take, that is a potential drop-off point. And so if you've got to say, install this package, install this tool, install this, create this configuration file, do this, write this, write this, write this, every single point is a drop-off point. And the more that you have, the more likely the user's not going to get to your wow moment as fast as possible. And so this is where the idea of you just showing someone with not explaining it means you can take good shortcuts. copy and paste this code and run it is kind of like the classic shortcut. Maybe if it's a Python code, it's pip install this, configure these environment variables, copy and paste this code, run. 4 steps, that's fairly standard. If I can see this thing working in 4 steps, great, I don't have the drop-off points. And so as you think about how I get to that wow, think about all those places where someone can drop off, because every drop-off point is potential to lose the user. And then once you've got this journey defined, how do you document this journey so it's clear? And then how do you measure the success of this journey? Because everyone has an idea of this is what I think is a great onboarding experience. But opinions don't matter really when you've got good data. So ideally, you need to think about how am I measuring the success of this onboarding experience? So how am I measuring that time to wow? How am I measuring the completion of this experience? If someone signs up here, I know how many users have signed up. I can track that. That's an easy number to measure. If I know the end goal here, I can measure the number of users that have achieved that goal, whether they've called an API, called an SDK, whatever. There's a measurable number I can grab. So it's kind of step 1 is make sure you have those numbers. How many people come at the top? How many people come at the bottom? And then you can see what that discrepancy is. Never going to be 100% of people who start are going to finish. Never going to be that. But you can kind of start to establish a baseline. We've got 1,000 people a day signing up. 10 people are completing our onboarding. We have a problem. And then ideally, as you think about the steps, you want to see how can I gather the data on those steps? Whether that's, can I just do Google Analytics on my documentation page? How many people are scrolling through the page? How many people are actually getting below the fold? And then I can use that data to feed back into improving the whole process. If people are not even bothering to scroll down the page, there's something on the top of the page that's not gripping them, that's not explaining enough information, or is explaining too much information, or something that's wrong. And so, because I've got some numbers, I can start changing the page. I can iterate on that. People are not scrolling down the page. Right, let's make their first page shorter, snappier. People are scrolling down to a certain point. Right, what point they're getting to and stopping? How do I improve that? And then just by capturing those constant metrics and looking at that, I can then kind of try and bring the numbers back up. And as well as having that kind of data, I also like to mix in anecdata. I like to actually ask people. So this is something I love doing, is actually getting users, sitting them down and saying, hey, here is the product we've got. I want to watch you go through your onboarding, and then leaving them to it, filming them. I usually like to pay people in Amazon gift cards for tax reasons. But here's $50 of Amazon gift cards. Here's our documentation, go. And then as people are doing this, they're talking out loud. And so you're getting the raw experience from a number of people as they're working through it. Things like, this doesn't make any sense. This is garbage. What am I doing here? Whatever it is. And you can take those personal views from people who are doing it as you're watching them, mix that with the data points you've got, and then use that to optimize and iterate the flow that you're doing. And then you just need to kind of move quickly. How many changes can I make? What do we need to do? What do we need to do? And then just kind of evolve and change over time. And as long as you've got enough people coming at the top, that a certain number of people each day, you can watch that number of people who complete the onboarding go up and down. And so, you want to kind of optimize it to be as high as possible. And then once you've got that going, once you say, 1,000 people a day are signing up, 500 people are completing onboarding, happy with that, then you can start considering like the long tail of, did they just onboard and drop off, and then, or are they sticking around using the product? And then you can kind of iterate that onboarding again, whereas they are using the product to start with, but they're dropping off straight away. Why they're dropping off straight away? What are we missing in the onboarding that's causing them to not know the value of the product? What are we not explaining when they get to the end of the onboarding step? How are we kind of nurturing them further? But without that measurement of the initial onboarding, it's kind of very, very hard to kind of think about that longer tail.
I love your recording idea. I think it's super useful. I think the way you convince product that something is broken is show them a developer that used the product and was not successful. Much more than numbers in my experience. Like, show them a developer that going like this, and they'll fix the problem.
It's emotion over rational thought. If you say, hey, look, here's the numbers, people couldn't explain their statistics any way they want. Lies, damn lies, and statistics. So, oh yeah, here's a number. Okay, whatever, we'll get round to that. But if you show a developer or a product person a video of someone going, oh my God, this is utter rubbish. What idiot came up with this? and they are the idiot that came up with that. That strikes that emotion of, oh my god, okay, I'm embarrassed by my product, I'm angry by the opinions people are having, and as long as they can view that without the doubling down of, well, I disagree with this person because they're angry, as long as they can kind of take a slightly rational view on those emotions and kind of try and empathize with the user, they are more likely to change it. So yeah, I've done that many times. Here's the numbers. Yeah, great. Nothing happens. Here's the numbers. Yeah, great. Nothing happens. Here's 5 videos of people swearing at your product. Instantly things get fixed.
What are your thoughts on, you talked about reducing steps. What are your thoughts on like capturing email and capturing credit card, or like putting a pay gateway between you and your success, between a developer and their success?
So things like capturing emails is fine. Everyone signs up for an account. Ideally, you want to make it as few steps as possible. Sign in with GitHub, sign in with Google, sign in with Microsoft, whatever platform you want to use. Have those platform choices so it just works. Things like credit cards, they can become a problem because you have to have a credit card to use that. And if I'm just a home user and I'm playing with a toy, I might be inclined to put my credit card in. If I'm a corporate user, no chance. I am not going to test out a product at work and put a credit card in because I may not have a company credit card. I may not be authorized to use the company credit card for this software without going through an approval process. I may not want to put my own credit card in for something I want to use at work. And so that becomes a blocker. If my boss says to me, can you go and try 5 different products around this space to work out which ones we want to investigate further, and 4 of them require a credit card and 1 doesn't, I'm going to use the one that doesn't require a credit card because it's less steps for me. And especially when you think about large enterprises, these are the customers that you want because they throw big bags of money at you. And so in an enterprise, if I want to use a corporate credit card to sign up for a trial of software, I have got to go through layers and layers and layers of approvals just to get this done. I don't necessarily have a corporate Amex. If I do, I'm probably not allowed to use it. It's very easy in the startup world where we all have ramp cards to go, oh, just put on a ramp card, people will do this. But that's not how a lot of the real world works. And so as soon as you've got that blocker that I've got to go to finance for approval, I'm not going to sign up.
Yeah,
So
I've
capturing
seen that
emails,
many times.
yeah, fine. But things like credit cards, talk to sales. If I have to talk to a human, I am not going to sign up ever. Don't get me wrong. Amir, love talking to you. Not going to talk to a salesperson. I don't like talking to humans if I don't have to do it.
Yeah, that makes tons of sense. And I've seen places where people put gates in order to reach the value, and it's silly gates, and I just move on. As a user, I just move on to the next thing. People don't have time now to talk to other humans, to set up meetings, to put more information than the minimum required. I think social login is great, and what you're suggesting of like just login. I think it also adds trust when you log in, because now I know that the creation is mine. So I think there's even some value in getting the login into the experience.
Yeah, it means I can go back to the state I got to. Yeah, I've used this tool, I have configured this thing. When I log in again, that thing is still there. So once I've completed the onboarding, I've still got something I can carry on playing with. So sign up is fine, we all do it. Asking for extra information is just asking for trouble. Please enter your business phone number and your company and your company size. Most people make that stuff up. I remember having a big debate when I was at Microsoft. They had a whole load of gates when signing up for online events. And so I did just a poll on social media and said, okay, how many people would be blocked by this and just wouldn't enter any information and just not sign up? How many people would lie? How many people tell the truth? And the split was basically 20% of people wouldn't even go through the process of filling in the form. So we'd losing those people straight away. 20% of people would put correct information in. The remaining 60% would lie. They would just type in whatever to get through the form as quickly as possible. So suddenly, by having this form here for information that your sales team wants, you're losing 20% of people straight away. And then of the data you've got, 3/4 of that is just made up nonsense. So it's no value at all.
Totally, yeah. I've seen it so many times, and it's and you get like the emails of iterate.com because people, that's what they put in because they're angry and they don't want to give you their email.
Oh yeah, I feel sorry for Bob at bob.com because he gets so many emails from me because that's just the first thing that I came up with years ago, and I fill that in every time I don't have to have an email address. And I'm sure there's millions of companies out there with names like Bob and with a million employees because I don't have time to put this information. And I'm a European. I don't want to give you this information. I know in the US where there's a little bit more expectation that you have to give out private information, but I'm a European. This is private. It's none of your business, all this kind of stuff you're asking. So why would I tell it to you?
Okay, so last question on onboarding. Once you onboarded the user and they reached a success, how do you nurture them from there? Like, how do you make sure that they continue? They try the product. Should developers that are building developer platform send onboarding emails after that, or following up a week after if you haven't like successfully put in your credit card to become a paid user? How do you follow up from successful onboarding?
So there's two ways to do it. So one is to make sure that they've got the information they need as a user to carry on using the product just in the documentation that they're in. So not thinking about nurture streams right now. Just I've come to the end of my quick start. Okay, cool, it's working. Yay, great. But then I have very clear, here's the things you can do with the product. So just having that at the end of the very first quick start, what are the possible next steps that I can do with this product? And kind of think about the different scenarios that a user might go through. So it's good to kind of define that user persona. What is your ideal customer profile, your ICP? What is the person likely to do when they complete onboarding if they are a successful customer? And bring that front and center to what they're doing. You get to the end of the onboarding guide. Great, you've done it. Brilliant. Here's 4 or 5 things you might want to do next. Because that then gives the user the ability in their own time to take on that next step. It's like, hey, you've just run this code. We haven't explained what it does, but it works. Cool. This is how you integrate it into your app if you're using this tool. This is how you integrate it to your app if you're using this tool. Here's how you can dive deeper into this. Here's how you can configure this. Here's how you can extend it with this. Having those logical next steps. So, for example, at Galileo, I've got a basic onboarding that says like, hey, cool, we are now logging something. You are logging a trace. Brilliant. Your next step is to evaluate this trace. Here's a link to do it. Right, and here's a next step that follows on top of the quick start. So you kind of got this quick start 1, quick start 2, quick start 3, as you're going to build up the knowledge that you need. And just having that logical progression of here is the next few steps that I may want to take helps me as a self-guided learner do it in my own time. And again, you can kind of measure these things. How many people sign up? How many people do the first onboarding? How many people do onboarding 2, 3, 4, whatever? And I can kind of see the flow through and then use that to predict which things I should expand more on, which ones are less important, which ones should be further up towards the fold, things like that.
Amazing.
So that's just giving them their own kind of nurture path to do it. And then obviously there is the nurture emails. And ideally you don't just want a standard newsletter of, hey, we've done this, we're at this event, because that's just marketing fluff that's probably not relevant to a developer.
Very boring.
If I sign up for a newsletter for that information, totally. But ideally, I want something that's going to say, hey, you've done this, that's great. Here are some next steps to think about. If it feels like it's targeted to what I'm doing, I'm more likely to take that information on board. And it should be very developer focused. Like, hey, cool, you've done this, you've deployed this. The next steps people normally take are doing this or this or this. Here's links to our docs. Done. Maybe some videos in there, something like that. But just very clear, not just a generic, here's some cool stuff about the company. Just very clear next steps. That's kind of a powerful way to kind of start re-engaging people. Now, you're always going to get drop-off. Ideally, you want to be establishing at kind of the C-suite, head of product type level, what the acceptable level of drop-off is. And kind of try and optimize for that because you're always going to get drop-off. And then just kind of look at, this is where we're coming in. This is the number of people who completed this. Here's the emails we sent. Here's the steps they took after those emails. And then you can kind of iterate on those, A/B test on those, change those up. And ideally, you want to have a good kind of growth or go-to-market engine that automates a lot of this process that can look at the funnels people have gone through and say, yes, they've done this. Let's send them out this. If they did this in Python, we send them links to a Python example. If they did this in TypeScript, we send them links to a TypeScript example. Kind of customized experience a little bit based off the flow that the user came through. So again, it's capturing those good metrics early on so you know what a user's doing, and then building a more customized nurture for them. And don't make it feel like, oh, hand over your credit card, give us money, do more. Just make it feel like, hey, you've done this. This is usually what people do next. Here's the docs. And leave it very much documentation centric.
I love that you can always connect it to docs, because docs are so important in our profession.
Yes, always connect it to docs. Documentation is how developers learn. Link to different documentation formats. If you've got videos, hey, here's a video on how to do it on YouTube. Here's our docs. But you always want to link back to that developer-friendly documentation. You don't want to send developers to marketing sites, to product pages. They don't care about that. They just want to know how to do it. And docs are the place.
I love it. This has been such a delightful conversation. Also, so I feel onboarded now on how to do onboarding. So thank you so much, Jim. I'll take we wanted to talk about other topics, but maybe we'll do it later. This has been amazing conversation about onboarding. Thank you so much.
Always happy to help. Loved geeking out on onboarding. Thank you for having me.
Bye-bye.